been a very hectic day. A couple of things out of left field. It's definitely a Friday. So I know many asked for an update. I agreed to doing an update today. So let's go through them. Just a handful of things, and I'll get you set off pretty quickly here off to the weekend. All right. So next cast, Mark is going to be flying out to Minneapolis next week to sit down with that manufacturer now that the tooling is available and make sure we can get everything done in mass. There's some requirements for manufacturing and distribution as far as number of units and time to deliver those. There's going to be some assembly associated they're going to be able to do right there, so that'll save us some time to include some of those units being packaged or partially packaged, and we'll get those out from there, and then we can distribute or fulfill from a central location. So that's really going to be very helpful. He's going to be out there for a few other things. We'll talk about that at a later video. I don't want to jump the gun on that. One of the things he's working on is the E-crutch, U-crutch. Now, many people are familiar with the collapsible crutch that we have. There's rigid. When we purchased that, we took on the responsibility to manufacture the U-crutch. We have a next generation, so we're going to launch Gen 1. So we're working on some of the manufacturing processes for that and trying to get a timeline on how quickly we can bring that to market before we move on to Gen 2, which is a smaller unit, a slightly different function, but it'll still be the dynamic crutch that has the shock absorbing. I think we went into that on the video, and it'll still fold down. That one kind of folds down, and they attach together, both pieces. And once we release the images of it, it'll make more sense. But we do have the, now that I look back there, we have the collapsible crutch there. I've been having a series of phone calls on that one. So we'll be looking at pushing that out as quickly as possible. I think we're going to be able to get that out no later than the end of the year. Let me just be very clear. I'm waiting on some commitments to come back. So I'm shooting for the end of the year, but it may go into Q1 depending on the manufacturers. Supply chain should not be too much of an issue. Most of those components are being done here in the United States, so that'll help. Now, some of the raw materials are coming from outside the country, so we're working on if that's going to be an issue and how much we have to purchase up front. So give you a little idea on U-crutch. So that'll be pretty exciting. Okay, so with H2O, a lot of phone calls and emails and messages on H2O. We're filing several patents. We're bringing in some additional IP and technology tech into that particular company. I'm not going to get into what that specifically is yet. People have been asking about the contracts. Those negotiations are ongoing. I know that's not what people want to hear, but I want to be as transparent as possible. And people are asking, what are the names of those companies and why can't you release them? Okay, so some of these companies are publicly traded companies. They're very large companies. And what I don't want is to release the name of a company we're in discussion with or negotiations with and have people trade on that information. I get it. I understand that for some that would be a benefit. We just need to do everything above board. I understand that it's painful at times, believe me, to have to wait. But if you just stick with us a little bit longer, be a little patient here, we'll get those contracts inked, we'll get the funding in place, and then we can make those announcements through a press release, and then we can talk about it in a video. We can go back and forth. I'll take phone calls. We are working on the timing of that town hall that we've talked about. It's a little premature to do that. There's a few things I need to do. I want to make sure that is a platform that we can get everyone up to date on the most recent executions of the company. So it's not that I'm pushing it off. A few more things have to happen, and we will be doing that. So things are going rather well over at H2O. And then, of course, the new subsidiary, we're getting everything ramped up for that. There's going to be some meetings in Pennsylvania that will assist in bolstering some of those revenues. We'll get those contracts signed, and then we'll move forward. How long that's going to take, I don't know. You have to understand that on our side, things can move pretty quick because we're smaller. You're talking about large companies, and you're talking about large dollars. This is a team of attorneys, and many of these companies, I don't want to give away too much, but many of these companies have different departments that weigh in on these decisions, and we need to make sure that we can field all of their questions and or concerns, and then we have to agree on price, which we've gotten pretty far down the road on that. So I'm pretty optimistic about that. So the Dream Company. So one of the things with the Dreaming Company is we have a manufacturer that provides or makes Hygieia skin for us on the West Coast. We are looking at bringing that particular company in under the UAT Group umbrella. I'm not going to indicate timing on that. This is something that we've gone back and forth in contracts over the past 12 months. We're weighing a few things because we also want them to have location here in the Tampa Bay area so that we can split some of the manufacturing and processing as well as the fulfillment of Hygieia skin. So those manufacturing duties will be bifurcated. So West Coast, East Coast, there's some different things, and that's going to expand our capabilities to launch new products. So we're looking at bringing up more here to the Tampa Bay area. We're getting very close to the end of what those negotiations would be. Some decisions need to be made, and then we're going to move forward. Ossifix, I was not able to speak with Mark in reference to some of the things going on with Ossifix. We have a partner that will be able to, and it meets the ISO standards I said in a previous video, and we'll be moving forward with them very shortly. So I'll keep everyone up to date with that. The goal is by the end of the year to have all of these things completed and launched, and then we're going to move on to building the revenues that we discussed this year. That's what 2022 will be set forth. There's a few other structural things that we're looking at for 2022, but for the most part, we're really going to focus on that, driving the revenues, because we should have all the structure put in place no later than Q1 of next year. Okay, a lot of it will be done this year by the end of the year. So people are asked about funding and capital. That's a fair question. You know, they're asking about the disclosures. Oh, just to touch on that, we've gotten a lot of emails and requests on this. We will be on time. The due date on that is by the 15th of the month. We'll be on time. We're not going to be late as of right now. So we may even be early, to be quite honest with you. I know he's just consolidating all the subsidiaries. He had some questions. We're going back and forth on that. Okay. So as far as the funding, we're going to be raising capital on an institutional level via the S1. I think I went through that in more than one video. And then, of course, potentially the Reg A, which would be the bridge piece, because I'm thinking at the timing of when that S1 will drop, potentially January timeframe is when I'm thinking these audits are going to be done. And then we have to take a look at the timing on what the S1 time is going to be. So they're saying they're running 3 months. Usually in January, you're looking at close to 4 months plus. So I think it's going to be, you know, prudent to put the Reg A in. So it's looking more and more like we're going to do that. And that'll just help with, you know, bridging the gap so that we're not losing time in Q1 of next year. Okay, so a lot of people were asking what we're working on in the background. There's a lot going in the background. I don't want to get into specifics. You know, as we are able to launch these things, we will. I will do a press release when necessary. We'll do a global announcement via social media if it's something that's not press release worthy. There are a few things that are coming. I think they'll be done probably this month. So there may be 1 or 2 new items coming out before the end of the year. It's pretty exciting, but I don't want to oversell it, and I don't want to really get too far down that road until it's done, right? So I don't want to build up an expectation and then fall short, which in the past has been an issue, and I've heard everyone complain about that, and you are correct. So I want to make sure we make those changes. Now, one of the things that I've gotten a couple of phone calls on was, can we accelerate the timetable? You know, we lost a year. You know, COVID is a legitimate thing, but I think we fell behind and we fell victim to some of the excuses that other companies were using that we were involved with, as far as you know, third-party providers, people outside of the company. So I want to be more independent. I want to have more control over what we do, so that when this type of stuff happens, we're not at the mercy of these other companies. So we are making those changes, accelerating the timeline to uplist. There are a few things that we can do. We can get very aggressive. I had a pretty extensive phone call, not last night, but the night before, with Tom and legal counsel in reference to some of, I guess you guys are talking about this on different chat room boards or different communities, and we're getting a lot of people pushing, let's accelerate it, let's move forward, you know. So I hear that. Believe me, I'd like this to move as quickly as possible. We have to move forward carefully. We don't want to make a mistake. and we don't want to set ourselves back. But there are a few areas that we can accelerate. We're taking a look at those. I'm lining a few things up, and we're really assessing how efficiently we can execute quickly. So for those who are out there talking about it, I have heard you. I'm not ignoring you, and I'm open to suggestions that many of you have given. I am willing to get aggressive with moving us forward, especially by the end of the year. But we're not going to do that at risk of setting ourselves back. So the goal needs to be, or the objective needs to be defined, which I think I've done pretty convincingly and repetitively over the past 12 to 18 months. So everybody knows what we're trying to do, what we're trying to go, and we need to stay focused on that as a goal. We don't want to become distracted, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to end the video here, but I want everybody to know that I definitely appreciate all the feedback, and I appreciate a lot of the shareholders that have called in, understanding the position that we're in, and really putting themselves in the shoes of management and understand, okay, I understand that this is an issue and this is why you would not want to do this, but maybe consider the greater goal. And I hear that. I appreciate that. I have to be comfortable with the decision that I make, so please don't take it personally. And I'm a little cautious at times, so I want to make sure that we're moving forward very carefully and making sure that we're keeping everyone in mind when we make those decisions. So we have a couple of meetings this weekend, over the weekend, so we're not, I know it's a weekend, everything's off, but we do work through the weekends. So I'll be speaking with the rest of the team on what they would be comfortable with and what areas we can accelerate within each subsidiary, and then of course the publicly traded company. So I will get back to you probably next week. I think I could probably make a decision in the next 10 days. I want everybody to know that we are going to push where we can. So pushing certain products out a little earlier. Can we do that? What are the costs going to be? Can we do it well, right? There is a product that we can accelerate under UAT. We looked at all the different products. Right now, it looks like the pillow will be something that we can accelerate and get out to you quicker. And I understand, building those revenues are important. And for us, it's been about structure this year. I've said that. I don't want to be a dead horse, but we've got a few things that we were working on this week, and we've gotten a lot done this year. I'm sorry, this year, not this week. So again, thank you for all the support. Thank you for calling in. And any other comments, any suggestions, by all means, send them in. If we don't take them under your advice, please don't take it personally. There's a lot of things happening that you may not be aware of, which would render some of your suggestions obsolete or just not applicable at the time. So it doesn't mean they can't be applied later. And you never know. We might not have thought of something. So again, thank you. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you.